They're cutting your fence right now. I dropped the coffee mug before my neighbor even finished talking. By the time I reached my front porch, 2 contractors were already pulling down the wooden fence that marked the edge of my property. Standing beside them with her arms crossed was HOA President Linda Harper. She smiled the second she saw me. "You're too late," she said. "This land belongs to the neighborhood now." I stared at her for a second, trying to understand what I had just heard. "What are you talking about? This is my property." She pulled out a folded paper from her folder and waved it in the air. "The HOA voted last night. We are expanding the community green space. Your fence is coming down, whether you like it or not." One contractor looked nervous. "Ma'am, are you sure we should keep working?" Linda pointed straight at me. "Don't listen to him. He doesn't own this part anymore." I walked closer and looked at the paper. It wasn't signed by the county. It wasn't signed by any judge. It was just an HOA notice with a fancy logo at the top. "You can't take private land with a neighborhood vote," I said calmly. Linda laughed loud enough for everyone on the street to hear. "I've been HOA president for 9 years. I know the law better than you." Several neighbors had stepped outside. Some looked confused. Others quietly pulled out their phones and started recording. Then Linda made the biggest mistake of the day. She grabbed one of the fence posts herself and shouted, "Finish tearing it down before he calls anyone." That was when my elderly neighbor, Mr. Dawson, slowly walked across the street holding a weathered metal box. "I think everyone needs to see what's inside this before another board comes down," he said. Linda's smile disappeared. She took one step toward him and almost yelled, "Don't open that box." The entire street went silent. Because whatever was inside it had Linda more scared than she had looked all morning. Mr. Dawson looked at Linda for a long second. Then slowly opened the old metal box. Inside were faded maps, property surveys, and a thick stack of letters tied together with a red string. On top sat a county seal that looked decades old. Linda's face turned pale. "Those papers don't mean anything," she said quickly. "They're old." Mr. Dawson ignored her. He handed the top survey to me. "I've kept these for 32 years, he said. "Your father asked me to protect them if anything ever happened to him." I unfolded the map. The property line was exactly where my fence had always stood. Even more surprising, there was a county easement marker showing that the HOA had no authority beyond its own entrance road. The contractors stopped working. One of them looked at Linda. "You told us this land belonged to the HOA." "It does," Linda snapped. "He's showing you outdated papers." Before anyone could answer, another neighbor walked over carrying a tablet. "Actually, I just checked the county website." Everyone turned toward him. The online records matched the old survey. "The fence is on private property." A quiet wave moved through the crowd. People who had stayed silent for years suddenly started whispering to each other. "So she lied. This isn't the first time. I thought I was the only one." Linda raised her voice. "Stop listening to them. They're trying to destroy this community." Then an older woman stepped out from the crowd. "No, Linda," she said. "You fined me $5,000 for a mailbox that was never against the rules." Another man pointed toward Linda. "You threatened to put a lien on my house unless I paid you." Within seconds, more neighbors began sharing their own stories. Every sentence made Linda look more nervous. She pulled out her phone and walked a few steps away. "I need the county enforcement office here now," she whispered. She thought no one could hear her. But the neighbor recording the entire argument had a microphone close enough to catch every word. A few seconds later, his phone speaker played her voice back for everyone on the street. "I don't care if the papers are real. Just get someone here before I lose control." The crowd fell completely silent. Linda slowly turned around. And for the first time since this started, she realized the homeowners were no longer standing behind her. They were standing behind me. At that exact moment, a black SUV rolled onto the street. And the person who stepped out was someone Linda never expected to see. The black SUV stopped in front of my driveway. A woman stepped out wearing a county property enforcement jacket. Linda smiled for a split second, thinking help had arrived for her. Then the woman walked straight past Linda, shook my hand, and said, "Mr. Carter, thanks for waiting. We received your request to verify the property records." Linda froze. "You know him?" "I do," the officer replied. "And before coming here, we reviewed every document filed against this property." She opened a folder and held up several official county records. "The HOA has no legal authority over this land. The fence stands entirely on private property. Any damage done today was unauthorized." The contractors immediately put their tools down. "We were told everything had been approved," one of them said. "You were misled," the officer answered. "You're free to leave. This matter is now between the county and the HOA." Linda tried to interrupt. "Those old papers are fake. He's trying to trick everyone." Mr. Dawson quietly handed the officer the metal box. She carefully checked every survey, every deed, and every letter. Then she found one document that made her stop. "This is the original county boundary agreement," she said. "It was recorded years before this HOA even existed." Everyone on the street heard those words. Linda's shoulders dropped. The officer looked at another document. "And according to these records, someone has been filing HOA boundary maps that don't match the county's official maps." A sheriff's patrol car pulled onto the street only minutes later. The county office had already contacted them after finding possible document fraud. The deputy asked Linda a simple question. "Did you approve these altered maps?" Linda looked around, hoping someone would defend her. No one spoke. Instead, neighbor after neighbor walked forward. "I still have the fake violation notices she sent me. I paid fines because she threatened my family. She claimed she could take part of my backyard." The deputy collected every document. Then the neighbor with the recording stepped forward. "I have the entire conversation on video." He played the clip where Linda said, "I don't care if the papers are real. Just get someone here before I lose control." The deputy listened without saying a word. Then he turned to Linda. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with us for questioning regarding possible fraud, trespassing, destruction of private property, and filing false documents." Linda finally realized there was no way out. As she was escorted toward the patrol car, she looked at the homeowners who had followed her for years. Not one person stepped forward. Not one person argued. Not one person believed her anymore. Over the next few months, the investigation uncovered years of illegal fines, forged notices, and fake property claims affecting dozens of families. The HOA board was dissolved, homeowners elected new volunteers, and every unlawful fine that could be returned was refunded. The damaged fence was rebuilt at the HOA's expense, and new rules required every future board decision to be reviewed openly by the community. A week after everything ended, the neighbors gathered beside the rebuilt fence for a simple barbecue. Children ran across the yards without fear. People who had barely spoken for years laughed together again. Mr. Dawson handed me the old metal box one last time. "Your father believed the truth was worth protecting," he said. "Looks like he was right." I smiled and locked the box inside my house. The fence was never the real fight. It was about stopping people who believed power was stronger than the truth. And in the end, an entire neighborhood proved that when homeowners stand together, no bully, no matter how loud, can steal what isn't theirs.